After a week of ballot counting in the U.S. midterm elections, Republicans have wrested control of the House of Representatives from the Democrats. Republicans will have a razor-thin majority when the new Congress convenes in January, but it'll be enough to stall President Joe Biden's agenda for the next 2 years. Democrats have kept control of the Senate, though. The man set to replace Nancy Pelosi is Speaker Kevin McCarthy. He said Americans were ready for a new direction. The Republicans had hoped to win back control of both chambers, but the lackluster results have led to recriminations within the party.
I told you we'd be back. Just took a little while.
I appreciate that.
Everyone up. I'm proud to announce the era of one-party Democrat rule in Washington is over. Washington now has a check and balance. The American people have a say in their government. And this new Republican leadership team is ready to get to work to put America back on the right track.
Well, for more on this, let's bring in Arise U.S. correspondent Eric Ham, who joins us live from Washington. Great as ever to see you, Eric. So no red wave for the Republicans, but what would no doubt have made up for that is the fact that they've now won control of the House of Representatives. Is this cataclysmic or a little bit below that?
Charles, hi. I'm sorry, Charles. Right now, it could go either way. In fact, right now, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, is actually speaking on the floor where she is expected to address both the House and the nation about what her plans are, if she plans to step down, if she plans to continue to stay on in Congress, and if she will stay on in a leadership role. So she is talking right now about this. And we're looking to see, in fact, what she will say. What we do know is that you're right. Republicans have now will be taking control of the House of Representatives in the next Congress. And we have already heard from both the House Oversight and the House Judiciary Committee, where those leaders who will be Republicans have already made clear they want to begin investigations into the Biden family, specifically Hunter Biden.
Yeah, and we're just looking at live pictures there of Nancy Pelosi speaking. And as we look at those pictures, Eric, the Democrats, of course, retaining control of the Senate. Is there now little doubt that America is heading for much more confrontational politics and Mr. Biden will now struggle to get his policies through a divided legislature?
Well, it certainly looks that way. In fact, based on what we saw this morning from the incoming leaders of these two committees, it appears as though the focus will not be on confronting inflation, rising energy prices, rising food prices, but focusing on the Biden administration, the Biden family, and investigations leading up to, of course, to Joe Biden. That is what it looks like we're going to see and what will be the focal point for the next 2 years. Even though we know in the U.S. Senate, it appears as though while there is some level of recrimination still occurring, we know that Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has retained his leadership post in the Senate. But still, what we're seeing there is lawmakers who are focusing on attempting to try to address policy and address some of the issues that they believe the American people want to see from them. What we're looking at right now, at least in the House of Representatives, it's going to certainly be contentious, chaotic, and of course, confrontational.
But I wonder, Eric, could this actually end up helping Mr. Biden with re-election in 2 years' time? Because, I mean, if he can pick up a few wins where he's able to work with a small number of moderate Republicans in the House and all the Democrats, he could point to that as being bipartisan, couldn't he?
He certainly can. In fact, we have seen this happen in prior years. We saw this with Ronald Reagan and even with Bill Clinton. But again, right now, Charles, Washington is so polarized. And right now, there's so much enmity and distrust and discord between the two parties. In fact, when Kevin McCarthy spoke today, his opening line was, as we just played there, was that the Democratic rule is over now in Washington. So it does not appear as though this is going to be a caucus that is attempting to work together with lawmakers across the aisle to try to address many of the intractable problems that continue to confront the country. What it appears, based on what we saw from lawmakers this morning, is it is going to be continual investigations, and also how can we continue to investigate and hold accountable lawmakers. In fact, what we have heard from one Congresswoman, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is she wants to investigate Nancy Pelosi as well as the Department of Justice for the treatment of prisoners that were jailed from the January 6th insurrection. So that, I think, gives you a sense of just where and how far this new caucus is going to go.
But I wonder, Eric, if there is much division within the Republican Party in the House. I mean, some who are less Trumpian and therefore likely to be voting with the Democrats.
Well, we certainly could possibly see something like that. In fact, if you go to the state of New York, where Republicans picked up four House seats, one might be inclined to believe that those are potentially four lawmakers that Democrats might be able to coax to their side, because again, we're talking about an area where it could potentially flip back to Democrats. So those are not considered to be safe seats. So yes, we could definitely see that. But nevertheless, Charles, Kevin McCarthy is still going to need to get that magic number of 218 to become the Speaker of the House. And based on the vote that just took place earlier this week, he does not have the numbers. And so it will be interesting to see if he can get there and what kind of deals he will have to make in order to do so.
And of course, we'll also have to be looking out to see where those few voices of cooperation or accord might come together in the House. Eric, thank you very much indeed. Eric Ham, Arise US correspondent, talking to me from Washington.